Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. Mike Williams here, your host, and my co-host here, Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Today we're going to be going over the Week 2 matchups. I'm going to be breaking this up into two different videos because I got a lot to go over. Now, I understand that these videos are pretty long. So, I've made it to where if you hover your mouse at the bottom of the YouTube video, you can see exactly what matchups you'd like to go to. Also, in the description, it has all of the matchups broken out. So if you want to go see what the Dallas versus Atlanta game's going on, just click that one and it'll take you right to it. All right, Geoffrey, is there anything you'd like to add?
The timestamps are a fantastic idea, sir. This will allow your audience to use their time more efficiently.
Sounds good. Let's get it started. All right, this first game we're going to be going over is the Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons. And the home team is Dallas Cowboys. The spread is -5.5 Cowboys on Pigskin Pick'em. We're going to start with the home team, Cowboys. All right, let's go through their fantasy relevant players. They have Dak Prescott as quarterback. They have a nice set of wide receivers. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, very good wide receiver tree. Next, they have running backs. The most relevant one is Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard's the backup. He's not really going to be seeing playing time unless Zeke gets injured. Their main tight end got injured. Blake Jarwin. I'm not too in on the backup as of right now. I'll be evaluating him. And defense and kickers. All right, so Dak Prescott. The over-under is really high in this game. Vegas thinks there's going to be a lot of scoring, and I agree. Matt Ryan, in his last game, had 450 yards passing. I definitely think both of these teams are going to be going back and forth. It should be a very good game this week, and that makes it a very good game for fantasy players. Dak Prescott is a for sure start for me. He's a beast. Next, we're going to go to the wide receivers. I definitely think that Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are starts in this week, and I think that you could start CeeDee Lamb as well. He definitely has some opportunity now that Blake Jarwin's going to be injured, out for the year with a torn ACL, I believe. And regardless, he's going to be out. All right, next, we're going to go to Ezekiel Elliott, and everybody knows you're starting Zeke every week. He's an absolute beast. Fire him up. I'm not starting the defense in this game. You can definitely start the kicker, though. A lot of back and forth in this game. All right, next, we're going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Like I said earlier, Matt Ryan had a great game last week. Fantasy-wise, 450 yards. That's amazing. I definitely think you can start him up. There should be a lot of back and forth. And if they get down, there'll be some comeback time about it. The wide receivers. He had three very good wide receivers last week. He had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Gage. A lot of you may not know him, but all three of them got 12 targets and 9 receptions, and all went over 100 yards. That's incredible. I definitely think that you can start Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley if you're in a desperate spot, or if you're looking for some upside in DFS. Russell Gage, I definitely can get a couple looks. Next, we're going to go to the running back position and Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is new man on the team, and I definitely think they're going to be getting him some touches, so I think you can start Todd Gurley. And Hayden Hurst. I think that Hayden Hurst didn't get as much attention last week, but another big game for the team, not a lot of back and forth. I think Hayden Hurst can get in there, and I think that he should have a pretty solid game. Finally, defense and kicker. I'm not starting their defense, and if you want to start the kicker, fine. It's kind of up in the air when you can start a kicker. All right. You want to look for good game scripts when it comes to picking a kicker. All right. So now it's time to pick this game. I'm going to go with 5.5 point spread, everybody. 5.5 points. I think that Dallas can get this game, but 5.5 points is a lot of points. I definitely think that Atlanta can keep it close. And so I'm picking them this week. All right. Dallas probably going to take the game, but the Falcons going to get the spread. All right. On to the next one. All right, this next game is going to be the Baltimore Ravens versus the Houston Texans. Oh man, last week, Deshaun Watson got boat raced by the Chiefs. It was bad. And of course, Baltimore played amazing because Baltimore is absolutely fantastic. All right, so the home team is the Texans. So let's start with that home team. All right, Deshaun Watson, I definitely think that you can start him. I don't think it's a good matchup at all. The Baltimore Ravens are fantastic defense, and they're going to be giving him trouble. If we thought that he was getting trouble from the Chiefs, he's definitely going to be having some trouble with the Ravens. So I would expect a couple turnovers, but I also expect for him to do a little bit more running, get some yards on the ground, as well as a touchdown or two. So I think he should be a solid play, low-end starter this week. Next, we're going to go to the wide receivers. I'm still not trusting Brandon Cooks as of right now, personally. I want to see him involved in the offense. I want to make sure that he got over that injury. He still didn't look quite right last week, so I'm probably leaving him on the bench. But I definitely think you can start Will Fuller as a solid flex play. Will Fuller is very fast. He can always bust out a long touchdown. Next, we're going to go to the running back position. David Johnson. I definitely think that you can start him. He's going to get the volume, especially now that Duke Johnson's out. David Johnson's going to have a solid game. Yes, this is a fantastic defense, but I believe that the volume will win out for him on that. I'm not starting the defense, and kickers, I'm probably not starting him either because that would mean that he got down the field and scored. Or at least got close to it. All right, next we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. All right, everybody is starting Lamar Jackson. He's an absolute beast. Let's be real, let's be honest. On to the next one. I don't really need to talk too much about him. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, next we're going to go to the wide receiver position. Marquise Brown, I think that you can definitely start him. The Texans don't scare me, and I think that Marquise, also known as Hollywood Brown, is going to be very solid. He's always a deep field threat, super fast. I definitely think you can fire him up. But that's the only wide receiver I'll be starting from that team, Ravens. Next, we're going to be talking about the tight end position. And Mark Andrews, you can definitely start Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the league. You're never going to bench him. I need to go over the running back position. This is where it gets interesting. Mark Ingram did not have a good first game of the season. Now, was that because they were already up so high, so now they're just going to put in J.K. Dobbins? I don't really know if it was the defense that really did it. That being said, I think that Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins can be flex plays this week. They could overcorrect and give Mark Ingram some more work. I definitely think J.K. Dobbins is going to be on the field as well, so I think they're both flex plays. And you definitely start the Ravens defense. I think that they'll get a couple of turnovers and they'll definitely get some sacks against Deshaun Watson. And every week you should start their kicker because Justin Tucker is a beast. All right, the spread for this game is 6.5 points for Baltimore. Yeah, they're covering that. Baltimore Ravens are absolutely incredible, and I definitely think they can cover this spread. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Geoffrey, you got anything?
Lamar Jackson had more rushing yards than both Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins.
That's pretty cool. On to the next one. All right, next we're going to be going over the Oakland Raiders versus the New Orleans Saints. And this is a 5.5 point spread, New Orleans way, and the home team, Oakland Raiders. So we're going to start with those Raiders. Oh, Oakland. They're not in Oakland anymore. Las Vegas Raiders. My bad. All right, so we're going to start at the top. Quarterback, Derek Carr. Not starting him. Next. Wide receiver. I'm interested to see if their new wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, is going to play this week. I know he got a little bit dinged up. If he does play, I got him as a flex play. Next, we're going to be going over the running back position. And every week you should be starting Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, that is. Definitely be starting him. He's a beast. You draft him in the first or second round. He's fantastic. Start him every week. Not the easiest matchup, but you're going to play him. Next, we're going to go over the tight end position. Darren Waller is obviously a must start. You play Darren Waller every week. Very talented. I'm not trying to play the defense against New Orleans, even though they probably don't have Michael Thomas. Still don't want to play the defense against them. You never know what Drew Brees is going to do. He's just going to utilize the weapons he has on the field. And I still think he's talented enough to get the job done. Next, kicker. I'm not starting the kicker in this game either. Or on that side of the ball, at least. Next, let's go to New Orleans Saints. All right, so we have Drew Brees at the top without Michael Thomas, most likely. I don't believe Michael Thomas will play. If he does play, he's going to be hindered, and I'm not starting him. But I do think that you can still start Drew Brees. Now, there are some other options out there. If you find somebody that has some upside that you want to play, I can understand that. But I have Drew Brees in a few leagues, and I still think that he can get the job done with the people that he has. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. Like I said, I believe that Michael Thomas is most likely going to sit out, and if he's not sitting out, he's going to be hobbled. He had a high ankle sprain. You shouldn't be able to come back from that fast if it's an actual high ankle sprain, so I wouldn't play him. But when somebody is out, that gives someone else opportunity. And I think Emmanuel Sanders, the next wide receiver on my list that they just brought in from the 49ers, I think that he can actually have a very solid game. I think he's a very good wide receiver. And another week in the offense, him and Drew Brees need to be even more on the same page now because Michael Thomas isn't there. They got to throw it to somebody. So that's it for the wide receivers. Next, running backs. I think that you can obviously start Alvin Kamara because he's a beast, and he's just going to get more targets now that Michael Thomas is gone. But one that you might not have expected, Latavius Murray, I think could be a flex play. With Michael Thomas being out, they might lean a little bit more on the run, and if you're in need of a running back and you don't have some other options, worst comes to worst, I think you can put on Latavius Murray and he can get you a solid game. There's a chance he falls into the end zone. Next, we're talking about the tight end position. Jared Cook. I think Jared Cook is a great start this week. I think he's going to get targeted more than he's used to, and that will produce in fantasy value. So definitely start up Jared Cook this week. He's going to be fantastic. The defense, you can play against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think that they should be fine. And obviously you should be starting Will Lutz because he's Will Lutz. He's a beast. All right. Spread in this game, I believe, is 5.5. Saints, and I'm definitely taking that. Give me that. 5.5. I still think that they cover just because they don't have Michael Thomas. I am not afraid of Oakland. I think that they can do some work with Josh Jacobs, but I do think that the Saints will prevail, and I think that they'll do it by almost a touchdown. So I got the Saints in this matchup. All right, Geoffrey, you got anything?
It is unfortunate that the Las Vegas Raiders will open their new stadium with a loss.
That is true. All right, on to the next one. All right, next up, Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions. This should be an interesting matchup. Unfortunately, Kenny Golladay is probably going to be missing this game. That's very unfortunate. Green Bay is favored by 6.5. That makes sense. I mean, did you see them last week? They were fantastic. Lions lost to the Bears in embarrassing fashion. All right. Anyways, let's get to Green Bay. All right, this game's gonna be in Green Bay. Let's start with them. So, quarterback position: Aaron Rodgers, also known as Aaron, or that bad man. Aaron Rodgers looked fantastic last week. Came out firing, absolute beast. You start him up for sure. Next, we have the wide receiver position. This got a little interesting. Of course, you're starting Devontae Adams, one of the best wide receivers in the league, if not the best wide receiver in the league. He's absolutely fantastic. You start him every week, of course. Next, Alan Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think I got that this week. I think that both of those are fringe flex plays. I liked what I saw from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, also known as MVS, and that's how we'll be referring to him for the rest of this segment. MVS is a solid wide receiver. He had a couple nice downfield plays and almost had a touchdown on one of them. Didn't work out, but I do like the connection that I feel like him and Aaron Rodgers are starting to get. He's got to get the drops under control, though. He had 2 bad drops. One that would have gotten him the first down, and another one that was down the field that he definitely could have gotten a nice big play. So I'm interested to see how he works out on that. And then Allen Lazard also had a fairly solid week last week as well. It looked like they're fighting for the number 2 spot, and I'm interested to see who wins that. But I don't think either of them are anything other than a flex play as of yet, and flex play is an upside. They could have a solid game, but there's probably other people that you play over them. All right, next we're going to go to the running back position, and though they have 3 running backs of note, Aaron Jones is the one that you want. Aaron Jones is a very good running back, and you drafted him pretty high. Everybody knows that. You're going to start Aaron Jones. And I'm not afraid of Dallas's run defense. Aaron Jones is going to get some work. And Green Bay, you don't start their tight end. I'm not starting their tight end. You can start their kicker, but I'm not actually even aiming at their defense. I think that Detroit should have a okay game. Divisional matchup, pretty solid. All right, let's get over to those Detroit Lions. So we have Matthew Stafford. I don't think I want to start Matthew Stafford without Kenny Golladay. I'm not... I liked him as a whole this year, but without Kenny Golladay, right now I'm not trying to start him. You probably have some other people that you could start over Matthew Stafford. Next, we'll go to the wide receiver position, and like I said, Kenny Golladay, I don't believe will play. Next on that list, Marvin Jones Jr. is very solid. I have him as a flex play with upside, possibly going into the wide receiver 2, depending on how this matchup goes. If they are coming back from behind, I definitely think he can be more involved. Danny Amendola and Quentin Cephas, I believe. Those are people I'm kind of watching out on. They got a decent amount of targets last week, so I'm curious to see how the targets work in their second week without Kenny Golladay. And that could lead into possible upsides later on, depending on how long Kenny Golladay is going to be out. Next, we have the running back position. Adrian Peterson is still doing it, and he looks pretty good. Not gonna lie, not just because I like Adrian Peterson, but he looks pretty solid. So I'm trying to avoid this backfield, but if you have to start one of these players, I'm probably starting Adrian Peterson because it looks like he's getting the work, and he looks pretty solid. Multiple 10-plus yard runs last week. I liked what I saw. Running hard. DeAndre Swift, I'm going to have to see it before I would start him. I know some of you drafted him pretty high. I was pretty low on him this year. But that being said, I would be benching him until I saw anything. And after that super sad drop in the end zone, oh, that was awful. To end the game, he could have won it for him. But he's just a rookie. Hopefully he'll get over that. And nobody should be starting or having Kerryon Johnson on their team. He's now an afterthought now that Adrian Peterson's there. All right, and tight end, you can start TJ Hawkinson. He was getting some looks and he got a touchdown. It looks like he's going to be involved in the offense this year. But that being said, I kind of thought that last year, or we all thought that last year when he had that blow-up game week 1 and everybody rushed out to the waiver wire to grab him. And then he was terrible for the rest of the year. I don't think he's going to be terrible for the rest of the year. Rookie tight ends don't tend to come out and play amazing. So I think that TJ Hawkinson could have a pretty solid year. And I think that continues, obviously, after week 1. Don't play their defense against Green Bay because there's a chance that they get boat raced. And Matt Prater can get started. I like him. He's a good kicker. All right, time to pick this game. Green Bay, 6.5-point favorites. I'm going to have to go Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to put on a show this year. They're going to be good. And you let Aaron Rodgers sling it and keep continuing having a good running game, I think that Green Bay is going to be kind of dangerous this year. All right. Geoffrey, you got anything?
Aaron Rodgers had 364 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. Without Darius Slay, the Lions are in trouble.
It's a bad man. All right. I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is a 2.5-point spread for the Colts. And we're going to start with the Colts. They're the home team. So, starting with the quarterback position. Phillip Rivers used to be a quarterback for the Chargers. Now he's a quarterback for the Colts. I like Phillip Rivers, but I don't want to start him necessarily this week. I do think that you can start him if you're in a pinch, but I'm not aiming to start him, is what I'd probably say with that. I think he has a fine game against the Vikings. The Vikings don't really scare me. They got lit up by Green Bay last week. I think he could do a little something, but I'm not aiming to start him if I don't have to. Next, we're going to talk about the wide receiver position. T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton has a fantastic game this week because Viking secondary doesn't scare me anymore. A lot of turnover, and I definitely think that him and Paris Campbell can have a very solid game this week. Paris Campbell looked like Phillip Rivers' go-to guy, and I think that moving forward, Campbell should have a solid role in this offense. For those of you that did pick him up, I definitely think that you can play him this week as a flex play. T.Y. Hilton's more of a wide receiver too. All right, let's move on to the running back position. And like I said last week, earlier this week, unfortunately, Marlon Mack out for the year, and that moves Jonathan Taylor up into the starting position, and I definitely think he's going to take it and run with it. No pun intended. Jonathan Taylor is a very, very talented running back, and I've actually tried to acquire him in a couple of leagues. It's not going great so far, but I definitely think that Jonathan Taylor should have a good year moving forward. And next, Nyheim Hines. I think that Nyheim Hines is still going to be a valuable running back. You're still going to want him. Just like when Phillip Rivers was at the Chargers and you wanted Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. I think that this is going to be the same sort of thing. I think that the new Austin Eckler is going to be Nyheim Hines. He has the same skill set, and I really like him as a running back. He's going to be very solid. They showed that they were going to be giving him touches as well as receptions, of course. So, next position, tight end. Jack Doyle, there's a chance. I think Jack Doyle is dealing with an injury at the moment. If he plays, it's a flyer, and I mean, I like Jack Doyle. And the Vikings don't scare me. There's probably better options out there on your waiver wire or in your lineup that you already have. So I'm not like rushing out to start Jack Doyle. And defense is a borderline start. I'm not trying to start them. I do think that the Vikings had a bad showing last week, and I do think that they're going to get better this week. Kickers, whatever. All right, let's go to the Vikings. So we have Kirk Cousins. Not the best showing last week. I think Kirk Cousins is probably a bench this week. Getting on to the wide receiver position. Every week you're going to be starting Adam Thielen as long as he's healthy. He's absolutely fantastic. He looked great last week. Couple of touchdowns. Good start for the season for Adam Thielen, and I think he continues it in this game and has a good game. Not starting the rookie, Justin Jefferson, yet. I want him to be more involved before I even look at starting him. Next, we are going to go to the running back position, and of course you're going to start Dalvin Cook. They paid him. They are going to run him. So, of course, you're starting Dalvin Cook. He's a beast. I'm not starting tight end Kyle Rudolph, and nor their kicker or their defense. So, time to pick this game. 2.5-point spread for the Colts. I think I'm going to Vikings on this one. The Vikings got embarrassed last week. They got beat up. It was not a good game, and I definitely think that they're a better team than they showed last week. I think that the Colts are a better team than they showed as well, losing to Jacksonville the way that they did. But I do think that Minnesota is going to get the edge in this one, and that's why I'm going with the Vikings. All right, Geoffrey, you got anything?
Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor combined for 14 targets in the first game. They caught all of them.
All right, on to the next one. All right, this next game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers. And this is going to be in Tampa Bay. All right. Tampa Bay is an 8.5-point favorite. That's a huge favorite. And we're going to start with those Bucs because they're at home. So we're going to start at the quarterback position. Tom Brady. He did not have a very good game last week. Threw some interceptions, overthrew a couple people. Pick six. Not a good showing for Tom Brady's first game as a Bucs. I know. But I definitely think he comes out firing in this one. You can fire up Tom Brady. He's going to have a good game this week against the Carolina Panthers. They don't scare me at all. So fire up your Tom Brady. Next, wide receiver position. Mike Evans came into last week dinged up, and he went against Lattimore. He had a couple downfield targets that pass interference got called because Lattimore was all over him. And not in like I'm playing good defense, but it was clearly pass interference a couple of those times. So, moved us down the field, but he didn't get the yards for that. I definitely think that changes this week. And I'm hearing that he's a little healthier than he was last week. So, I'm definitely firing up Mike Evans this week. That being said, Chris Godwin seems to be dinged up with a concussion. I don't believe he plays this week. And I'm not saying that Scotty Miller slides into that role, but I do think that Scotty Miller is going to get some more touches, and he would be the person that I would be looking at as the number 2 wide receiver on the Bucs. And I actually think you can definitely play him this week. Tom Brady seems like he likes him, and whoever Tom likes, I like. So I think Scotty Miller is going to have a fine week this week. Next, running back position. Ronald Jones. He was running great. He looked really good, surprisingly. And Leonard Fournette didn't seem like he was starting to take over that role. Ronald Jones seems like he has that role for now. Very solid. I think you can start him up against the Carolina defense that I think can get run over. Did you see what Josh Jacobs did last week? I'm not saying that Ronald Jones is going to do what Josh Jacobs did, but I do think he can have a solid game this week. All right, next, tight end position. I don't think I'm starting any of the tight ends on this team. Now, I think that over time, Gronk will get more involved into the offense, but until I see it, I now don't want to start him. And O.J. Howard, he had a touchdown last week, but it was wide open. There was no one around him. Of course he's going to catch a touchdown. So, that was blown coverage, clearly. I'm not starting either of the tight ends for this until I see a little more production on the field. I think that you can play the defense, the Bucs defense against Carolina. Their offense is basically Christian McCaffrey, and if they can throw it deep. And I'm actually starting to like our defense a little bit. We're improving for sure, not just in the run game. I also think that our secondary is getting better. And you can start up the kicker if you want. All right, next we are going to the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater, I won't be starting him. I'm actually interested to see what he does long term with his legs, see if he gets into some more running, and if he starts to hit DJ Moore down the field a little more, he might hop him into my lineups. But as of right now, he's a bench. Wide receiver position, DJ Moore. Not the best showing last week for DJ Moore, but the targets were there, and that's what I'm looking for. I think that DJ Moore should be better, but like I said earlier, that Bucs defense, I think that he might get shadowed, and that could be a problem. I think that there will be some better games ahead for DJ Moore, but I think that he's going to be a little more limited in this game than in his future matchups. Robbie Anderson is a new hotness. Everybody's talking about Robbie Anderson. He had 114 yards, yes, 6 receptions. He had a really long touchdown play, and that's always going to be in Robbie Anderson's game. He's a fast down the field kind of guy. You're playing with fire if you start him, though. He could have a solid game, but he's one of those boomer busts, kind of like Deshaun Jackson or something like that. I like Robbie Anderson. I think he should be on your team. I just don't know if starting him every single week is the best option, so I'm leaving him on the bench this week. But he could always have 75 and a touchdown. All right, next. Oh, and I'm not starting Curtis Samuel yet. I need to see it on the field before I would trust him in my lineup. Next, we're going to the running back position, and of course, you're starting Christian McCaffrey because he's a beast. You're starting Christian McCaffrey every week. And you're not starting the defense, and you're probably not starting the kickers, so time to pick this game. 8.5-point spread. 8.5-point spread. Let's go with... We covering this one. Tom Brady is coming out firing. I think that we're going to have a good game this week. Getting back to some good playing football. Tom Brady's going to show out. Unfortunately, Chris Godwin's probably not going to be there, but still getting that W, baby. All right. Jeffrey, you got anything on this one?
In PPR scoring, Robbie Anderson had 25.4 points. Without that deep touchdown, he would have only had 11.9 points.
Wow. Yeah. That is a big chunk. All right. So, on to the next one. All right. Up next, we have the LA Chargers versus the Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs, that is. Super Bowl championship Chiefs, that is. All right. So, the spread for this one, 8.5 for the Chiefs. And the home team are the Chargers, so we're going to start with those Chargers. This is going to be a kind of a quick one. Quarterback position, Tyrod Taylor. You're not starting him. On to the next one. Wide receivers. Unfortunately, Keenan Allen, who used to be a fixture in lineups, is now looking like it's in a little bit of jeopardy. I'm not burying him, but I do think that he is down from being a wide receiver 2 with upside down to a flex with upside. And Mike Williams, I also think that he could be a flex with upside. I see that he was targeted a lot downfield, came down with a few, hit pretty hard a few times, but Mike Williams I definitely think you can use as a flex play if you need him. Next, we're going to go on to the running back position. You can definitely start Austin Eckler. Joshua Kelly, I'm on the fence on whether or not you can start him. I actually won't be starting Joshua Kelly this week, but I do think that he should be on your roster. Moving forward, I think that he can have a pretty solid role. Joshua Kelly, look out for that kid. All right, next, we have the tight end position. I like Hunter Henry. I think that Hunter Henry should have a very good game. I liked how often he was targeted. He looks pretty good. So you can definitely fire him up. Now, we're going to go on to the defense, and you're not starting defense against the Chiefs, and I don't want to start the kicker against the Chiefs because that would mean that you're playing well or getting down the field. So, next, we're going to go to the Chiefs. We're going to start off with the quarterback position, Patrick Mahomes. Where my homies?
Where they at? Where they at?
Where my homies?
They up to no good.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So, thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate you. So, Patrick Mahomes is a beast. You're starting him every week. He is top 2 best quarterbacks every week. You start him. Patrick Mahomes is a monster. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Tyreek Hill. You'll be starting him every week as long as he's not injured. Sammy Watkins had himself a game, but are we going to fall into Sammy Watkins trap again? Do you remember last year when his first game was absolutely amazing? But, I mean, he is Sammy Watkins. He's a very talented wide receiver. There's a reason why he's still on the roster. He's getting some targets. If you really want to shoot for upside, he could be a slight flex play. If he always has the upside to do it, I won't be starting him because I don't like to play that game, but I can understand if you started him. I had a couple buddies play him last week, and I was impressed with the bravery that they had to play him in week 1. But you know what? It worked out for him. That's fantasy football for you. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the running back position. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Of course you're starting him. He's a beast. I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to have a fantastic game. Good matchup. Let's go. That being said, watch out for Bosa. You're starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right. So we're going to go on to the tight end position. Travis Kelce. Top 2 tight ends in the league every year. He's a beast. You fire him up as long as he's healthy. He's healthy. You're playing him. You can also play the defense. The Chargers didn't look like their offense was clicking on all cylinders. So I think that the Chiefs defense, who did a pretty good job against Deshaun Watson last week, I think that they can hold the Chargers down as well. And you should definitely start Harrison Butker, their kicker, because he's a beast on one of the best offenses in the league. So you could definitely start him. All right. Let's pick this game. 8.5 points for the Chiefs. I'm not even going to make y'all wait that long. Going Chiefs on this one, baby. Woo! It's going to be a slaughterhouse. The Chiefs are going to play fantastic. The Chargers are going to be meh and coming from behind. So I think that that's going to do it for me. Geoffrey, you got anything, buddy?
In 2019, Week 1, Sammy Watkins was the wide receiver 1. From weeks 2 through 17, he was wide receiver 74.5 point PPR.
That is true. What can I say? All right. It's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. So that was the first half of the Week 2 matchups. I hope you enjoyed it. What did I get wrong? What did I get right? Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. And I look forward to doing part 2. Geoffrey, do you have anything?
You should definitely check out part 2. There are some great matchups in that one. Cheerio. See you soon.
Spot on. All right. Good luck this week. Peace.